So course 6 is about RDBMS. Under RDBMS, we are going to explore MySQL package followed with JDBC. Connecting with your Java with MySQL package. Let's get into, maybe these terms are new to you all. And those pending project presentation, we will have it in the afternoon. This is how I have planned my day. You need to use MySQL software and with respective IDE. I have shared the link on Mentor Notes channel. The instruction MySQL is a database backend application. It is not easy as front-end installation of any application. So please follow the steps while installing software. Better don't do it now. If you have started and you have completed, well and good. If you have not started, don't do it now. I need another 1.5 hours to 2 hours for my first concept session. Post that around 11:30 or 12, you can install it. Don't start your installation process now. Is that fine? Please adhere to the theory session.
Yes.
Don't do any installation. Installation of backend applications is quite complex. If you have missed any step, you need to undo everything and you need to start from the beginning. All right. So we are in course 6, Relational Database Management System Concept and SQL. One of the interesting topic, my favorite topic too, database connectivity. So we have 7 sprints. So today we will start with the first sprint, which is designing database using ER diagram and applying normalization, the process involved in your RDBMS. Let's begin the session. Any query, any doubts?
No, ma'am.
All right. It's time to think and tell. Not only today, so every day I used to relate and I want you to think and connect with the real world application, because nothing is artificial. You can relate. We are in application development. We are with applications, various types of applications. So today also, from today's this entire course topic also, you can relate with real world applications. It's time to think and tell. When you register yourself to any website for the first time, what happens to the data that you entered? And this is not something imaginary. It's happening every day. You take NIT application.
Matches the database data.
Correct. So listen. So come out from learning or direct student point of view to application development. I want you to do this with every topic. See, you take NIIT.com. So in this web application, you remember a month back or 2 months back, you have provided all your data to do a registration process or just an inquiry process where you have entered your name, for sure your email ID and your mobile number. So later at the time of registering the course, you may enter more academic details and more information about you. And this is not only for NIT.com. So you take any application. So you take your mail providers, your Gmail details. So simply you have registered with your name, address, and your mobile number in Flipkart, Amazon, the Zoom application. And some days back, when I'm starting file system, I have mentioned the term called as permanent storage of data. You remember this?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you enter your name and mobile number, email ID in nit.com, is it something like a temporary thing for a day or for 2 days? No. So I, being an NIT person, I want to store your data. I want your name, email, mobile number to be permanently stored. So in order to store permanently, we will use file system. So you take, so I can create a folder and I can create many files and I can store the file. So if you take files, files is for one operating system, one machine. Yeah, even if n number of machines are in same network, file system will make sense. Local area network. All are connected with router switch. Via switch, I have connected all my machines, LAN. Then it works. When it comes to globally, I want to access the data. So let's assume I want to share my notes. So I've created notes and I want to share these notes. Then I need to think about WAN, wide area network, and via internet protocols. And this data I need to be stored permanently and I need to be given access rights to n number of users. We have certain restrictions with file system. So if I want to handle the data, listen carefully. In application development, in programming language, we are handling the data in the form of variables. We are handling in the form of arrays. What else? We are handling in the form of enums. So apart from that, these programming language storage will give you temporary storage mechanism. If I want to store permanently data, initially I have introduced with file system concept by using operating system files. So we have some restrictions with files in terms of accessibility, global sharing of files. So if I want to share something, and apart from that, we have a restriction in file. So whenever if you want to access the data in CSV file, I am just relating with the last week topic. I have to follow all those file system mechanism, reading the file, converting the file. Can I store some 1,000 record in file? Is it efficient to handle some 1,000 record or 10,000 record in files?
No,
ma'am.
In CSV file, in report file, it's very difficult for us to handle 1,000 record. From 1,000, if I want to retrieve the record based on my requirement, condition gets matched, it's not efficient. So in order to overcome the drawbacks of files, we have a powerful data storage system called as DBMS, database. How does the user application identifies your username and password every time you log in? So the first time you will register, when you register, the data will be stored. So second time, third time, or any number of time, if you provide your details for login, it will retrieve the data. And those storage of data, retrieval of data happens within a place called as database. So when I do a register, so I'll provide all my details. These details will be stored. something called as database. When I do a login, data will be retrieved. From database. So there will be a place, the data will be stored permanently. How we will discuss. So one another way of permanent storage of data happens with the help of database. I will store the data in the database for the first time, and I'll be retrieving the data from database any number of times. And as I said, you can relate with any application, real world application. A bank customer wishes to know the details of the transaction made by him in last 6 months. Is it possible to retrieve the last 6 months transaction, last 3-month transaction, last 1 year transaction? It is possible. If you take Flipkart, whatever the orders you have placed, whatever the transaction you have placed, whatever the message you have sent in WhatsApp, everything I can view. So all the data, it can be my banking transaction, or it can be my orders details, product name, details, amount, price, invoice, dispatch detail, delivery details, everything. And if you take your messages, when it has been sent, at what date, what time, status, everything will be stored to relate with any application. Question number 1, where do you think is the data stored? How will the data provided to the customer? So you need to think how the data is getting stored and how it is getting retrieved. Listen carefully. Has the data in this file been stored in structured or unstructured manner? There is a tabular column in front of you. What is this? I think it's a customer detail, customer name, address. Okay. So his order details. So customer, which product he has ordered, about order detail, product detail, as well as customer detail. So tell me, what do you mean by structured data, unstructured data, and semi-structured data?
I mean, structured, it is organized with sorted order, kind of. Order number is sorted.
Not sorted, something like organized, I can say. So guys, yeah. So data. So you know what is data, right? If someone is asking you, what do you mean by data? What is your explanation for data?
Information regarding
Collection of information.
Something which is meaningful, something which is, whether information, data, both are same.
Data is raw fact which will describe attribute of given object.
If I go for data versus information, then there will be a detailed debate on it. So I'm just mentioning the word, right? If you have, after some time, try to analysis on this word. So always, whenever if I talk about data, so always data will be in huge number or in high volume. So data will be always in huge. So if I collect all your name, mobile number, email ID, address, your academic background, so simply I can say those are all called as raw data. Anything can I use with raw data? So with all your
Raw data.
name, mobile number, I can store the data. So those raw data, according to the application development, I need to convert into useful information. So putting that in a form of tabular column by arranging with proper header followed with all the values.
Structure.
Structuring of data. Or let's say I'm gonna to do an application for storing all your details, and I want to do analysis how many of you where belongs to this particular department, how many of you are having IT background, non-IT background. So how many of the student falls under 2021 passed out, 2020 passed out, 2019 passed out. If I convert my raw data into such kind of useful information. So converting the data and mentioning that these number of students belongs to IT background. These are all non-IT background, non-science background. So that comes under useful information. So simply we can say data is an information, but when you keen look into the term, both are slightly different. Got it? So always when we are telling about data falls under the category raw data. Whether when it is processed, when you are converting it to information, always the information will be useful. So simply collecting the data and storing the data, that's all. That is the data form. And when you are storing the data and collecting the data, with that we can classify data into three parts. So one is structured data, the other one is unstructured data, the third category is semi-structured data. So anyway, throughout this course, we are gonna to deal with structured data only. So structured data is a data which is highly organized and neatly formatted. So always these types of data put in table format or spreadsheet format. Unstructured data, which is not organized as named implicits or not properly formatted. Audio files, video files, images. It is form of structured data, but not in tabular format. Best example is your log information. So as I said, throughout the week, we are gonna to deal with structured data. So whenever if you are organizing the data with record by record, row by row, by collating all the data under a particular category. So that category will be a column category and it is neatly formatted and it has been represented with the help, the form of table. Tabled structure is your structured data. And it is easy to us to review the data and you can interpret whatever you want to have it from the data. So unstructured data, as name depreciates, it is not at all properly formatted or we could not able to format or organized. So the best example of unstructured data is all your audio, video, images, files. So semi-structure, it falls under the category structured data, but we cannot put them in a proper tabular format. Even your NoSQL queries, your HTML files, and your log files all falls under the category semi-structured data. Yes. Yes, go ahead. No, here we are not talking about anything which is related with our front-end application. When it comes to storage of data, how I'm going to store, based on that we are classifying. Those are all constructed based on the requirement of my front-end application. Here we are purely talking about the data format, the existence of data in the machine. See, nothing I'm talking about front end. So if I take my notepad, if I take my PPT, all related with my application. So whereas we are talking about pure data, storage of data. If I store the data in the form of tabular column, textual Excel sheet, so that is structure. So whereas if I store my images, so those images, blob file, so binary object file in my machine will be in the form of unstructured. Nothing related with your front end. I did. So anyway, we are gonna to deal with the RDBMS. We are gonna to deal with highly formatted structured data. For others only, we are deriving a new form which is NoSQL. Big data, NoSQL. In this session, we are gonna to design database using ER diagram along with applying normalization.
From ER, what is the full form of ER?
Entity relationship. We'll explore a lot. So my introduction to you is, whenever we are dealing with any application, we need to store the data permanently. So one of the permanent storage we deals with file system. So we have some drawbacks of files in terms of storing the huge volume of data, security of data. Anyone can able to access file. So in order to apply overcome those drawbacks, we are introducing a database system called as DBMS. Under DBMS, we have so many models. One of the powerful model is RDBMS model. We started with storing the data. One is two ways. One is temporary storage. The other one is permanent storage. And in order to store permanently, we have file system. File system is having some drawbacks. So we are moving to a system called as DBMS. Let us explore DBMS. So what do you mean by the term database? Simple word.
Where data stored?
Very good. That's all. The place where I'm gonna to store the data is called as database. So if I store, for example, I can store everyday notes in my notepad. I can store in my Excel. I can store in my Excel Google spreadsheet, or I can store in the form of any report files. So likewise, in a computer, I'm defining a proper software with all the rules and regulations. The system which I'm defining with all the protocol, I'm storing the data. Such type of system is called as DBMS. So DBMS stands for Database Management System. So this is a system which has been designed with all protocols of data storage in my computer. In a computer with all the rules, whatever the rules we want to exhibit when we are storing the data, with all the rules, if I want to use a computerized data storage, data keeping system, we can use a system called as DBMS. So we are going to use a computerized data storage system to store the data, to maintain the data, to manipulate the data. In another word, I can say DBMS are software systems used to, for the first time I want to store, second time I'll be retrieving, and I'll be running queries on data which I have stored. So let us explore from DBMS. So in this session, we will be discussing about defining a database, exploring database management system. Under DBMS, we have various models. One of the powerful model is relational DBMS. And as I said, so many rules are there. One of the rule is normalization. And we will be exploring about SQL, structured query language. What is database? Database is a collection of logically related query. So if I want to store the data permanently in my machine, I will be using database. Always I will be having a database, which is a collection of logically related query. Can I have a student database where I can have any other data to be stored? It's practically not possible. So whenever if I'm reserving any database for any data storage, it should be logically related each other. If I have some other which is not logically related, create with a new database. Please make a note of these points. So database is a collection of logically related data. Always it is used to search data to answer any queries. Whenever the user is requesting for any query, always database is used for searching the data. And one another important thing is, for any organization, database is most vital and integral part. Being a developer, being a database developer, we should know how to efficiently design create and implement databases. So we are going to completely explore on relational database in this module. Please listen carefully. So database may be designed for processing, batch processing, real-time processing, or online processing. Is that clear? The first word, data and database, you just relate with our same hierarchy. So you should know what is data and you should know what is database. I'll be having a place where I'm going to store all the data. It's called as database. If the user is trying to search for anything, we are going to search in database only. Guys, shall I continue with the next slide, which is what is DBMS?
Yes, ma'am, sure.
So I want to store a database. Listen carefully. I can take my diary and I can write all your name, mobile number, and your address. Will it be effective? Taking a paper and writing all your data? Yes, of course it is effective till when I have less number of data. And when the data is not having so much integral vulnerability related issue. Can I able to store your I can store your name, mobile number in a paper, in a diary. Can I store your password, Gmail password or banking password in the diary? Think about it. So whenever if you take a data, all the data are important, not only password, even your mobile number, your address, your academic background, everything is important. I need to secure my data. It can be any database. I can open an Excel sheet. I can open my Google sheet. I can store all your data. But think about certain factors related to data. So keeping all the factors in mind, we are defining a system called as DBMS. DBMS is a set of software or a program that enables storing, modifying, and extracting information from database. It also provides the user with the tool to do everything, to add, delete, access, modify, and analyze the data. A group can access the data by using query and other reporting tools, which is a part of DBMS. They can also use application program specifically written to access the data. I'll repeat again. Listen carefully. So in real world, I want to have a place to store my data. So even I can store the data in any of this, but these are all not effective. Think about certain points. The first point is, so storing huge voluminous data, because data is not I cannot have one or two data. So if I take NIT students, there will be thousands and thousands of students. And again, if you take the second point, data security. So efficiently retrieving the data, accessing the data. And there should be a proper system where often it is required, I want to update the data. Is it possible to change your mobile number? To change mobile number or
Yes,
to change your password? We often will update the record. and it should be an efficient. And if it required, there will be some where I want to delete the data. If the record is no in use, I want to delete the data. So is it effective in my notepad, paper, Excel, or any other data storage? No, we have some restrictions. So that is why we were moving to a system, a software. So with this software, I can able to store, I can able to modify, extract all the information from and to with the database. Point number 1 is clear. In a computer, how we have gaming software, how we have a calculator software, calendar software. So likewise, I'm going to define a software in a computer for storing, for modifying, and for retrieving information from a database. With that software, I can do all these processes effectively. And also it provides tools to do all adding, deleting, accessing, modifying, and analyzing the data. And how to do? So when we are in front end, we have a programming language. We can use Java, C, C++, .NET languages. So right now we are in backend DBMS software. In DBMS software, in order to do all the process, we have something called as query language. By using query language, and also we have not only querying, so many functionalities are there. One of the functionality is taking the report. All are available in DBMS. And also, when I am in front end, I can connect front end with back end with the help of DBMS tool. So the DBMS software has been designed to achieve everything. And how it has been designed, how we can able to do all, let us explore in this course. Shall I continue with next? Is that clear with introduction to database and introduction to DBMS?
Yes, ma'am.
It's a software. Monday morning, a fresh topic and an interesting topic, requesting all of you to pay attention. Is that clear? Shall I get into?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
It's just a software. Yes, I'm going to install that software. Not only me, you are going to install that software in your computer today, in another an hour. So how our DBMS works? Whatever the thing we have discussed in theory, the same thing is in diagrammatic format. Listen. So please look into the diagram from right to left precedence. So we will be with flipkart.com, facebook.com, nit.com, swiggy.com, any application. Your travel website, anything, ticket booking website, anything. Book My Show, Redbus. So we will be in front-end application. So I know these terms are new to you, but familiar with this term. Whenever the user, being a user, I will be connecting with an application. That application is called as front-end application, or it is called as UI, user interface. So with that software, an application, which is based on business logic, I will communicate. So with the software, I will communicate. So let's assume today you want to book a ticket. You want to book a bus ticket. So you will open the software, which is front-end software via that UI. You will search for the data. On the Saturday date, you will put the date and you will search for the buses. Either being a user, we will store the data, we will retrieve the data, we will admin the data. I am not the admin here. If I am a customer, I am not an admin. There will be a separate person who is an admin of Redbus, who will have admin, who will have report. So querying functionality and security will be there. These are the functionality of DBMS. So when the user wants to retrieve the data, being a customer where I want to book a bus ticket, so what I will do data retrieval. And when I apply the date from to when I click submit, it will go to via my DBMS system. It's just a system. With this DBMS software, it will go to the appropriate database and the data will be retrieved and it will be displayed in my user's front end. So all the meaningful fact will be stored. It can be raw data, it can be figures, statistical values or facts. So I need a software to maintain everything. I need a software to efficiently store, update, retrieve. All my management information about all my DBMS will be stored here. Chennai, Bangalore. If I provide all the detail, we are in front end. When I click search bus, have you imagined what is happening? Guys, when the user is clicking search buses, this is my front end. So front end will connect to my DBMS system. DBMS will communicate with my database. Database is a place where it stores all my information. Here it is bus information. So that will be retrieved and it will be stored. Whatever the data stored, it will be retrieved and it will be displayed in my front end. In the user interface, attractive format. So all these information, V2K travel, inter smart city, this what is this? Date, number of hours travel, amount, rating, how many seats are available. All the information will be stored in where? Database. So I cannot retrieve just like that. I should have a proper system for to and fro. So database is separate storage. So that database via various process can be done with the help of DBMS. So in DBMS, we have various models. How the data modeled and structure in DBMS. So as I said, various models are there. What is data model? Data model is a representation of real world situation in which data are collected and stored. How I'm going to store, collect and store the data. So that is called as data model. So we have various data flow and logical models. So how I'm going to collect and store the data. Based on that, we have various models. There were two types of model. One is logical model. The other one is record-based model. In logical model, we have the subcategory, which is ER model, entity relationship model. Under record-based model, we have relational model, network model, and hierarchical model. We are going to explore on relational model, which is RDBMS system. This diagram plays an in-depth meaning of your data model, guys. Anyway, we will be into relational model. So under record, we will be into relational model, but under object-based model, we need to explore on ER model. I'll repeat again. So how I'm gonna to store the data, in which way I'm gonna to arrange the data. Based on that, we have logical based model. Under that, we have entity and relationship. Record is nothing but my actual data. So all my bus information, travels name, from departure to from where it is starting, where it is destination, its rating, price, number of seats available, all were my record. How I'm gonna to store and retrieve the record? Based on that, we have relational model. So how I'm gonna to construct this object, you can relate it with your real world object. So again, I'm repeating. So how I'm gonna to model, so that we can duplicate with the help of object based. And how I'm gonna to store all the records, that is with the help of relational. Relational is nothing but the word relation represents table in the form of rows and columns. Column will be the header, rows will be the records. Network model, the data will be represented. Data and the relationship will be represented in the form of records, links. Hierarchical model will be represented in the form of links, tree-like structure. We are not gonna to use link, edges and tree. We are gonna to use tabular format. So how I'm gonna to model my database? The real world data will be organized in the form of object-based model, which is ER model. ER model is a widely used data model for database design. Whenever if I want to design my database, I need to use ER model. So guys, it seems like a huge vague theory. This theories are the introduction part of your RDBMS. Hardly in this first chapter, we will be dealing with theory. So these are all your introductory part. From second onwards, we will be dealing only with queries. But you need to have a clear knowledge about these theory. Then only you can able to implement in practical. So listen carefully. So ER model, ER stands for entity. The word entity is not new to you. If the word entity is in front of you, so what do you mean by the word entity? And the word I have already used in object-oriented programming. Harsh, what do you mean by the term entity?
An object
Very good. An object.
is created, real-time creation of an object.
Real-time object. Guys, again, I'm telling you, so don't feel it's a vague theory topic. No. What is my question? Yeah, my question is an entity. What is an entity? Entity can be an object, or entity can be a person, a place, about which data is recorded. So anything by which I can able to collect and record it is called as entity. Let's assume an object. You remember in course 3, I said whatever the object, real world object, a non-living thing which you can see in front of you falls under the category object. Any example? Eight. Car. I asked example of object. Is it a very difficult question? I'm hearing only one voices all the time. One single voice I can hear.
Student.
Student. Jitesh, Joel, Kasinath, Kuddus, Vivek. What are you doing, guys?
Customer, ma'am.
Mobile.
Correct. Mobile, paper, pen, TV. Open your mouth. I want some 10-15 examples from for this object.
Ma'am, stationery.
Laptop.
Stationaries.
You don't generalize as stationery. Stationery is a class. I'm asking about
And,
object.
Pencil,
Laptop.
blackboard.
Calculator.
Mouse.
Computer. I can say laptop.
Cupboard.
Employee. Door.
Don't
Window.
generalize as. I am asking about object. So let's say I have a polo car in front of me. I have Adesh. Adesh is a student object. So Hasib is a customer of Flipkart. So I have my iPhone 11 mobile. Particular object. Continue with the example. I'm asking about example for object. Madhu, Rusikesh, Shubham, Sodit. Yes, Joel, what did you say?
Yeah, my table.
I am very specific on object example.
I have three object, animal
Apple, fruit.
Okay. I have an apple on next to me on the plate, which is an example of object.
Headphone, earphone.
So what did the first point? I said entity is an object, the real world object. A place. I can say Bangalore or about the person. So let's say I can take Harshat. I can take Vivek. Let it be. These are all various examples. Listen carefully. Listen. What is my third point under entity? An entity, a place, or a person about which data can be recorded. Can I able to record the data with all these examples?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's take a polo car. What are all the data I can able to record with car?
Color.
Color, mileage.
and color,
Engine. Company.
Engine type.
Company. Size.
Number of
And
seats.
Pages
the
number.
type of car.
Component.
You take Adesh student. So what are all the data?
Name, roll number.
Roll
Color.
number,
Height, weight.
name,
Address.
address,
Contact.
Yes.
Email ID.
mobile number, mark, email ID. So wait. So likewise, so any activity, place, person, object about which if I can able to record the data, that is called as entity. Fine. Those entity will be drawn as a diagram. So for sure in an application, there will be having many entities. One entity and another entity can be related. So that relate is called as relationship. It views the real world as a collection of objects or many entities. So whatever we discussed, it's about single entity. So I'll be having many entities. If I have one and another entity, both the entity I can relate. The relationship among them is called as, is duplicity in the form of diagram is called as ER diagram or called as ER model. So entity relationship consists of many entities and its relationship. Entity is nothing but an object, place, or a person where I'm going to record the data. So this greenish square, what is it, not square, a rectangle box is called as entity, on which I can able to record the data. Those data falls under the category in the form of that orange ellipsis. So always entity will be in the form of a rectangle box, and all the data which is called as attributes, data which can be recorded is called as attributes. So entity will be connected with all the attributes. So I am having student entity. Student is having name, email ID, and its SSN. And apart from that, we have course entity with course title, course code, and course duration. What is the relation between student and course? The relationship is student will enroll for a course or joins for the course. So we need to follow certain steps whenever if you are creating this ER diagram for ER model. So step number 1, we need to identify all the entities. So you need to draw in the form of rectangle box, and you need to identify all the attributes. And one entity and another entity will be related with relationship. So draw the diagram, review it, and confirm it. So there is an interactive demo for drawing an ER diagram. An organization has 2 types of employee, salaried employee and daily wages employee. Both the employee are having same type of property, which has employee code, employee name, employee address. And this example is not new to you all. However, the salaried employee is having the additional property like basic salary, allowances, and HRA. And the daily wage is having daily income and his overtime. We want to draw the ER diagram. Alvi?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So before under this category, let us explore on basic fundamentals under ER diagram. So I'll start with simple ER diagram with an application. What can I take? So an entity on which I can able to record the data. So entity can be represented in the form of a rectangular box. So what are all the data I can able to record with my employee entity?
ID salary. ID salary.
So employee will have
Name ID. Employee name.
Take a name.
employee will have employee code. Employee will have employee name.
Employee address.
So employee will have address.
Mobile number.
Salary. EMP salary.
Salary one.
Salary.
Yeah. So employee will have particular department ID. Employee will have salary. So one entity will have any number of attributes. So employee is called as entity, and these are all called as attributes. So out of, I can have any number of attributes. So out of these 5 attributes, so one attribute is called as key attribute or primary attribute, on which I can able to refer an employee. In future, we used to call with the term primary key. So out of 5 attribute, so one attribute is a prime attribute or primary key or key attribute. You can call it as key attribute on which I can able to refer my employee details. So 2 or 3 employee can have same name. So 2 or many employees will be under one department. So by using a unique attribute, I can able to represent an employee record, which is called as prime attribute or key attribute. In diagrammatic format, key attribute alone will be underlined. So which is entity? So for sure, when you are drawing for any organization, there will be many entity. Can you tell me what are all the entities for organization? Think and answer me. Let's assume we are all working in an organization. So what are all the entities can be recorded for organization? What is the
Organization name.
what?
Name,
What? I didn't hear it.
Organization will have a name. It will have employees. It will have
Different departments.
it will have a net
Okay.
worth.
What else?
Positions.
What?
Position.
Organization will have
Like
department.
manager, engineer, and
Designation.
GST.
It will have departments.
So you said designation. What else? Those are all attributes. I'm asking about entity of an organization.
GST. Department.
Organization branches.
Name of the organization.
Name of the organization. That is also an attribute.
Ma'am, branches.
Ma'am, employee.
Employee we already recorded.
Address.
Other than employee.
Ma'am, department.
All right. I'll take department. Tell me few more. What else? What else the company will be working for?
Clients.
Clients.
Huh?
Clients.
Directors,
Clients.
managers,
Managers, directors, all falls under employees.
Industry. Which the
infrastructure, man.
I'm talking about entity on which I can able to record the data. I accept your point. So let me add one attribute. Okay, if I say department code itself, the department code will identify who it belongs to, which department. Can I take project as an entity of organization?
Yes, ma'am.
So what are all the attributes that my department consists of?
Department name.
So each department will have unique department ID. Yes, you are correct. Department will have department name. What else?
Department will have employees.
Perhaps an aim, a motto or source.
Nothing is reaching to my ears clearly. And is it anything like a sin coming on unmute and going on after spelling the word? You are going on mute. Is it required? If each and every sentence, if I go on mute, will it be fine? You complete the sentence and ensure that the word reaches to me. Then you go on a mute. You're not doing anything crime or sign on being on unmute. Actually, we want all of you to be on unmute. So maybe if everyone on unmute, you may some or other have some background noise. I'm not sure everybody will be on a separate room. So that is why we want you all to be on mute. But all the time on mute is I don't know what to say. Tell me what are all the data I can able to record with on department.
And how about an aim?
Number of
AIM.
employees.
Number of employees, it's okay, but think about more important data related to department.
What they work.
Department's target regarding that.
Net worth.
How come net worth will come under department?
Ma'am, functionality of the department.
What type of functionality? Okay, anyway, it comes under department name itself. I'll say sales. Okay, I'm taking department. Hmm?
Department can have sub-departments.
Think. All right. So what are all the data associated with project?
Project name.
Project duration. Project ID. Project cost.
Correct.
Project type.
Project placement.
So project will have project unique code. So project duration, project cost,
Project type.
Project name.
Project name.
Yes.
So out of which you need to identify prime attribute and you need to underline. Yeah. So imagine in an organization, there were 3 entities: employee, department, and project. and each entity is having their own data attributes. Is there any relation between employee and department?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you have a relation, you will be representing with this diamond symbol. It's an English word. Oh my God.
Employee is connected to department also and project also.
Yeah. Multiple relations will be there. So what way employee is related with department?
Department has employee.
The employee comes under a sort of department.
Yeah, employee belongs to any of the department. An employee will be working on any project. So belongs to working, it's a regular English term. So which comes under the category relationship. So whenever if you are under object-based model, logical model, we need to identify entities of application. And entities you have to draw, and each entity you have to collect the attribute. And whenever if you have many entities, for sure entities will have a relationship. You need to identify entity and you have to relate it. So now let's get into the conceptual interactive demo. So further to employee, they are telling that they are categorizing into two, salaried and daily. So employees will have some common, like employee code name. Salaried employee will have basic allowances and HR. The other employee will have daily income and overtime. So here something called a super type and subtype entity. So department, project, employee or standalone entity. Standalone. It exists and it is having some attribute. But if you take this example, there were two type of employee. So which is called as subtype, super type and subtype. So employee comes under super type and your salaried employee and daily wages employee comes under the category subtype. So if you want to draw, let me draw those super type and subtype. I got my diagram. I need to organize. Guys, please come along with me. So I have in my employee, I have two type of employee. So if I want to connect my super type and subtype diagrammatic format, we will be connected using this circle. Circle is used like a connector. So under that, I have two type of employee. It's a diagrammatic format. Cool. So one is salaried employee, and it's very important. Whenever if you are representing a regular entity, super type entity, you can represent with one rectangle box. Whenever if you are representing a subtype, you need to use double rectangle box. So employee in an organization, whatever the organization you are developing a project. So there were two. One is salaried employee. The other one is daily wage employee. So both salaried employee and daily wage employee will have employee code, name, address, department code and salary. Whereas salaried employee will be having as they mentioned in a slide. So they will be having basic salary, PF, allowances. So daily wage will work number of hours. Followed with overtime. Daily income. So employee comes under the category independent entity, or which is also called a super entity, which is not depend upon any entity for its existence. Employee, department, project falls under independent or standalone. So whereas if you take salaried employee and part-time employee, which is called as dependent entity, or which is also called as sub-entity. So this is, I can say, an ER diagram. This left-hand side is an ER diagram of the given conceptual demo. Whereas I just wanted to complete it with few more entities. So I added department and project. So entity will be represented with rectangle box. Attributes will be duplicits with ellipse. Underlined will be a key attribute, which is primary key. And relationship will be represented with this diamond symbol. And sub-dependent entity will be represented with double rectangle box. And connectors can be represented with circle. So 1 second. Yeah. So entity, rectangle box, weak entity, relationship, many more are there. Just go ahead. Yeah. Entity, relationship, attribute, weak entity, relationship. So if I have multi-valued attribute, this also we will use often, guys. What do you mean by the term multi-valued attribute?
An attribute which contains one or more values or attributes.
No, I can't hear you. Come on.
It's more than one value.
Class object, like class object.
No. I heard some word, but
One
Right.
attribute which
Repeat the
contains one or more attributes. or
many
values.
values. Many valued attribute means many attribute. For example, so let's assume, let's assume mobile number. Oh, mobile number I didn't mention. Huh? Okay, let's assume I have mentioned mobile number. Can one employee can have many mobile number?
Yes.
Can one employee
ma'am.
can work on many projects?
Yes.
So if you have many values for one attribute, then it comes under the category multi-valued attribute. The best example is mobile number, project ID, project code. Can one employee work on many projects? Yes. And you know this key attribute and compose attributes connection. So moving on to the next, relationship. So there were, I can have entities, and one entity and another entity can be related. So there were three types of relationship I can establish to relate one entity with another entity, which is one-to-one relationship, many-to-one relationship, and many-to-many relationship. So if I have department and if I have department head, both are different entity. So one department will have one department head, which comes under the category one-to-one relationship. So one-to-one, one department will have one department head. Many students can register for one student. I'm sorry, here it is. I'm sorry, typo error. Guys, how they made? Here it is not, one second. Here it is not student. Here it should be course. So many students can register for one course. If you have course at left hand side and student at right hand side, then you can relate one to many. Many students will be registering for one course. Tell me, what is the relation between employee and department?
Every employee has
One.
different.
Many to many.
Many to one.
Think. So let's assume employee table. And here it is department.
Many to many.
Many to one.
Many employees
Many
working
to
in
many.
department, one department only.
Correct. So many employee, one department. Many employee. So I can say I can have 100 employees. Out of 100 employee, 20 employee, many employee will be working for finance department. I know this is not complete. And also many employee will be working on one project. And also one employee will be working for many projects. Let's assume you take me. Can I work for many projects in a company? Possible. I can be in a delivery team. I can be in recruitment team. I can be in any other content development team. Is it possible or not?
Possible.
Yes, ma'am.
Possible. I know I am confusing you people. Since in this example I can relate, that is why 11 o'clock. Listen carefully. So whenever if you have with respective to code or something, so one department will be owned by one department head. Let's say there is a faculty, there is a department, you take your college department and there is a faculty. So what is the relation between department and faculty? One department will have
Many faculty.
many faculty. So if I swap faculty and here it is department, so then I can relate. So many faculty will be working on one department. So likewise, student and course. Listen carefully. Student and course. So I know, listen carefully. This is a confusing part. Many students can enroll for one course. For example, you take all 35 of you enrolled for one course, which is PGP Java. So many students enrolled for one course. Also, if you take course and if you take student, one second. Listen carefully. Many students can enroll for one course. You 35 of you have enrolled for one course, which is PGP Java. Likewise, one student can enroll for many courses. So if you take Adesh, so Adesh can enroll for PGP Java. Also, he can enroll for data science. Also, he can enroll for networking or data analytics course. So one student, Adesh, is enrolled for PGP Java. He enrolled for data analytics. He enrolled for Python course. Is it possible or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Possible.
So many students can enroll for one course. One student can enroll for many courses. If you have these type of relationship, then only we can establish many to many. So guys, many to many relationship will not come as such. Whenever it serves condition many to one and one to many, then you can establish a relation many to many between two entities. So if you take student and course, I cannot come to a conclusion directly like many to many. So only if it serves the condition many to one and one to many, then you can take this relationship. So now let us take our example. But how it is possible? You take your college. Exceptionals are there. Okay, got it. But if you take, okay, I accepted one faculty will be there in mechanical as well as automobile or civil. But if you take his or her profile, is there will be multiple department, the faculty under multiple department?
No, ma'am.
No. He can put into various projects, but if you take it, he will be belonging to one department, I'm sure. How can one faculty will be into two departments, even though they are handling subjects, but real world, they belongs to only one department. Same thing is applicable for project. So many employee will be working on one project and one employee will be working on many projects. So then we will come to this conclusion. You cannot come to a conclusion between employee and project directly. Only if it serves this condition, then you can take many to many. It is possible. So many employees working on, let's take NIT, content development team. So one employee If you take Hasib can be in content development team project. He can be in mentoring project. He can be in grooming, placement grooming project. He can also be in recruitment project. So once if we search the condition, then you can take many to many relationship. So let me take hospital man. You will find many ER diagram. Whether the diagram is visible.
Yes.
There were patient, hospital, doctor, medical record. So yeah, in diagrammatic format, they will represent with N. I missed this. So just for your understanding, I said we will use the term many M term, but when it comes to diagram, they will use this N only for relationship. Okay. Any discrepancy, you please tell me. So we have hospital, we have patient, we have medical record, and we have doctor. So patient will have patient ID, patient name, they have diagnosis and their address. Patient will be admitted. Relationship is admitted in hospital. Many patient, one hospital, because I'm creating an IR diagram for one hospital. Let's say BR hospital. So hospital will have hospital ID, name, address, and city. Patient has medical record. Hospital has doctor. One hospital has many doctors. Can you relate? One patient has many medical record. Guys,
Yes,
in diagrammatic form, they will use this N representation, not M. So when in ER representation, a relationship can be established with the help of N, capital N. One second. if you take any application, in front end, you will be finding a class diagram where how many classes are required. In back end, you will be finding your ER diagrams where entities will be drawn along with the attribute and relationship will be there. And whenever if you are having entity and relationship, relationships will be established with various types, one-to-one, one-to-many, and many-to-one. Diagrammatic format you will represent with capital N. All right. So we will be dealing with ER model for object based, for record, how to store the record, how to design a database with the help of ER, how to store the record. So that is with the help of relationship model. We were using relationship model only. So in order to store the data in the form of relation, table, rows and columns, we have RDBMS system. So let's get into the discussion of RDBMS. Before moving to RDBMS, I want all of you to go for a self-reading of ER diagram for some 10-15 minutes. So after that, you can go on a break and then we'll continue with RDBMS. So take a break of 10 minutes. And then I'm sharing the sample reference link for self-reading of ER model, ER diagram. And then we will continue with RDBMS. So I'm giving you 10 minutes break and then around 15 minutes time for reading about ER model. And then we will continue with RDBMS. Is that fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Go on a break. The break time, I'll search and I'll share you an efficient link. So have your break, come back around 11:05 or 11:10 and continue on reading. Around 11:20, we will continue with RDBMS theory. So yes, go on a break.